Okay, greetings and hello. If you don't know who I am, I'm Suzanne Tidkemeyer. I wrote for Pathos for nearly 10 years. I wrote a column there called No Longer Quivering that dealt with the quiverful movement, but the larger evangelical movement worldwide. And I especially was looking at those churches that were CULT like, the hit the bite model. And today I want to be talking about one of those churches that's hitting they're hitting the bite model for me. There's there's a big stink going on right now in the YouTube world, and that's kind of what I'm talking about today about this. Let me say first, do all the YouTubey things, please. If you could hit like or subscribe, that would be awesome. If not, no big deal. These are just my opinions. Don't bully anybody I've talked about here or I've ever talked about here. And just try to be kind to each other. That's all I'm asking in the comments. And thank you for watching. I'm throwing all this out here now because I'm reading my little list because I'm so ADD. I'm kind of like all over the place if I don't have a list. All right. So today I'm talking about an article in the Cult. The Cut. I'm sorry, not the Cult. It's an article on the lawsuit between Katie Joy Paulson, who runs Without a Crystal Ball, and Robert Shin, who's the pastor of Shekinah Church, and his organization 7M. Now, I was explaining months ago about the Seven Mountain Mandate or the Seven Mountain Manifesto. It just depends upon which churches you were going to, is what they call this thing. I thought it was linked to 7M. It is not. According to Shin, they are not practicing the Seven Mountain Manifesto. Good. But he is currently suing her right now for defamation of character and tortious interference. So Katie Joy has been trumpeting about this article in the New York Magazine, I think it was, for quite a while, saying, oh, you're going to be blown away. Well, I read the article, and the article just rehashes everything we already knew. The only difference was there were a few new statements by the dancers themselves who they'd given them to the writer. The writer just completely went over everything we already knew. That the only real reveal to me was something that I find horrific, that fits the bite model of a highly problematic, high demand religious organization. I'm just going to call it that way instead of calling it the CULT. Why? Because it had coded language in it. It had the same kind of coded language that I learned to hate and be on the watch for at my old evangelical church. What am I talking about? I'm talking about things like a couple of days ago, I had somebody that was telling me about their experiences at a church with a disagreement with someone. The disagreement they were having with someone was a pretty serious one. I just have to throw that out there, a very serious one. So they were ordered, and they were the wronged party. They were not the aggressor. They were told to remember they are a child of God, and to remember the other party is a child of God, and to tread accordingly, even though they're being abused. The coded language denies any kind of abuse whatsoever. It shuts you down if you even think, hey, maybe what's going on is abusive. It shuts all that down immediately. Shuts it down and makes it not even part of the equation. And that is the dangerous thing to me about the coded language used in a lot of religious groups. It just completely denies that there's damage, that there's hurt, that there's real abuse going on. It just makes it seem like it's just you being sensitive. But that's not it at all. That's you trying to stand up for yourself and your rights. There were a lot of things in the article that truly disturbed me, but some of the allegations against what the dancers are involved in are just horrific as far as coded language. One of the things that I found the scariest is people saying that they were told they had to cut off all contact with family members who weren't part of the church. Any church, any organization, any group that orders you to cut off contact with loved ones, with family members, fits that bite model. I'm just going to come right out and throw that out there. It fits the bite model. It's horrific that they would do that. Even if you have a different religious mindset than your family, you should never be forced to do that. That is a big, big, big red flag, and the biggest one in the entire article. Now, all the dancers went on to claim that they weren't told that they had to give up their family members. But clearly they did as time went on, and I got to see more and more of what they were saying. It sure looks like it. But they're all using coded language to deny this. And it just kind of breaks my heart. I'm just going to throw that out there. So many times, fundamentalist, evangelical religions, especially, but not exclusive, will say things to you that are just heartbreaking. Like, as you press in closer to God, you have to cut away those companions, those relatives that are not helping you get to a higher level with God. They will quote the scriptures that say, do not be unequally yoked. They will quote scriptures all day. They will take them out of context. They'll twist the scriptures to keep you controlled. If you are experiencing any kind of language that demonizes anything you say, diminishes your feelings, your emotions, your thoughts, tries to control what you're thinking, tries to cut you off from friends and family, then guess what? It ticks the boxes of the bite model, and you might be involved with a high demand religious organization that will only harm you in the long run. Now, I heard a lot of people on Twitter that were saying, oh, it was a big nothing burger. That article was a nothing burger. It was nothing that it was a rehash. I will say that. But it wasn't a nothing. It was not a nothing. I read it last night. I read it again this morning. It's a horrific mishmash of how churches can harm you, and coded language that was coming out of the mouths of the dancers. In the coming days, I may take actually the statements and show you exactly which ones were coded. Right now, I am in a state of triggering from having read that. As you well know, I've had nothing but health problems since the first of the year. Well, actually late January, and I don't have a lot of spoons. I have very few spoons right now. In fact, I need to do a rant here very shortly about disability accommodations, because they're not what they should be here in Costa Rica. I encountered a day yesterday of disability accommodations involving parking spaces, which I never even thought was going to be a problem here, and signatures of all things. Since my stroke last year, my signature has changed. And the bank was not going to let me open another bank account because my signature had changed from what was in my passport, and slight changes. And so I have few spoons. I'm highly triggered by this coded language and the things that the dancers are saying. I pray for those kids every day, just like I pray for a lot of people who are stuck in these kind of groups, because when you're a card-carrying member, when you're drinking the Kool-Aid and things are going great, it's the best thing ever. It's the best feeling ever. You think you have the world by the tail. You have a close relationship with God. Things could not go wrong. If God is for us, then who can be against us? And what's tragic is some of those kids, this is not even the first group like this they've fallen into. They were once part of another church that promised similar things and did the same things. Some fell away. The article points that out. Some just hopped from one highly problematic church to another. So that's another thing to think of with this thing. Okay, you guys, I'm going to go. I can't get YouTube to work, and you know I'm usually doing live streams. I would much prefer to do live streams. I like talking to you guys. I like answering your questions, particularly when it comes to these high demand religious organizations, because they can be tricky to spot. If you don't know what you're looking for, Hillsong looks like the greatest thing in the world. But after you've been in a while and when you're in too deep, you can't possibly ever think of finding your way out. The fact that my husband and I came out together and we didn't lose our marriage is damn near miraculous, because almost everybody I know that leaves ends up leaving their partner behind. It's just a sad fact. And once you're enmeshed, extricating yourself is horrible. It's like a fly stuck in super glue. You might get the fly out, but that fly is going to be missing some pieces. That fly is going to be hurting. That's how it is when you leave these places. So, my friends, don't ever follow a celebrity pastor or anybody with that charisma. Don't ever put your common sense on hold. Listen to your inner voice. I know if I had listened to mine, I would have left my church years and years before I actually did. And I wouldn't have sustained some of the damage that I have and some of you guys have. Okay, I'm going to go out into my day with my few little spoons left and see what I can do. Love you.